Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today I'll be talking about why Todd McShay is wrong about the New York Jets draft situation. But before we get started, just wanted to mention you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out the podcast wherever it is that you get your podcast, and the merch is down, link in the description below. All right, so I'm sure you've seen the Todd McShay clip from today. If not, I'll play it for you right now.
Yeah, and if Darnold's traded, they stay at 2 and they take Zach Wilson. I think that's clear cut. There's really no question about it. It's if they can't get an offer that they feel good about for Sam Darnold, then they've got to kind of figure out as an organization, are we going to, do we stay here and then build around him? To Mel's point, I'm not talking about bringing in Wilson with Darnold. That makes no sense. The whole point of this is Wilson goes 2. It's either to the Jets if they move Darnold, or if they're not able to move Darnold, then they stay there and probably take a wide receiver or Penei Sewell, the Oregon offensive tackle, to try to help build around the quarterback position with Darnold.
Okay, here's why Todd McShay is wrong about what he said. The first part I agree with. If the Jets are sitting at 2, I do think they're going to take Zach Wilson if they trade Sam Darnold. To me, he seems like a better fit over Justin Fields. I am not anti-Fields. If the Jets draft Justin Fields at 2, I'll be very happy because I think he's a high caliber prospect and someone who's worthy of a top 5 pick. Just like the other 2 quarterbacks who are going to be going in the top 5, there are 3 quarterbacks worthy of a top 5 pick. Trey Lance is probably going to go in the top 15. This is a good quarterback class. So yeah, I'm going to be excited about whoever the Jets take if they do take a quarterback at 2. And yes, they're worthy of a number 2 overall pick. But I believe that Zach Wilson would be the pick based on the San Francisco style of offense they're going to run. Wilson said himself that he would be a good fit out in San Francisco because of the offense that they run. So the dots are kind of connecting for him to be the consensus number 2 pick, and that's fine. I like Justin Fields a lot. I think some team is going to get a gem, somewhere in the top 5, maybe 8 at the absolute worst. I don't see him falling really past the Panthers. But here's where I think that Todd McShay is wrong. He goes on to say that if the Jets decide to keep Sam Darnold, or they can't get a trade partner and they keep Sam Darnold, that they'll stay at 2 and either take an offensive tackle or a wide receiver. I think that would be a massive mistake. Not because Penei Sewell isn't a good player, not because Devonta Smith isn't a good player or Jamar Chase isn't a good player, and that wouldn't help this team. But it would be a missed opportunity, a major missed opportunity. I'll tell you why. You have to trade back in that situation. You have to say, okay, who does want a quarterback and who does want to come up and give me a ton of picks, and who are you moving down with? You can move down with a team. Maybe the Falcons will want to come up and get somebody. Maybe the Panthers will want to come up, or San Francisco will want to come up, or Denver would want to come up. Those are all teams picking in the top 15 that might want to come up and get a quarterback, and that's going to cost a ton. So the Jets were just getting even more assets to build around Sam Darnold at this point, which if that's the plan, then yes, you should absolutely invest as many assets and draft assets, high-end draft assets, into this team as physically possible. And just sitting there and taking a right tackle or taking a wide receiver at 2 would be a mistake if teams are calling and saying, hey, I'll give you my first this year, my second this year, a first next year, whatever it is it's going to take, because it's going to take multiple picks to come up into the top 2, especially to get a quarterback. It's going to take a lot. And if you're not picking a quarterback in the top 2, more often than not, you should probably trade out of that pick and get a boatload of draft capital for a team to come up and to take a quarterback. So no, I don't think the Jets have the luxury of sitting there and saying, okay, we like Devonta Smith, we're going to take him. Well, hold on a second. What if you move back? The Lions are picking where? 7? Jared Goff's probably not going to be there more than just this year. Let's say they want to come up and take Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or Trey Lance. They could come up and say, we have these draft assets that we were able to get from the trade with the Rams. Now we can give you those or some of those to get up to the number 2 pick and get our quarterback of the future. Because, I don't think Goff's the future there. Or maybe there's a team like the Colts who are picking way back at 21. That's obviously going to have to come up a lot, but the number of picks they'd have to give up to come up and get their guy would be insane. The haul you'd be able to get. Maybe I don't want to fall back to 21, but if you're picking in the top 15 still and getting multiple high-end picks to move back, I don't see why you don't do that with the amount of needs on this Jets team. They're not a right tackle away. George Fant was far from the biggest issues on this team from last year. Number one is horrible coaching was the first thing, the first and foremost issue. And then the quarterback play was right after that. If you believe that Sam Darnold would not be the issue if he is under a quality coach and a half decent or half talented offense, then what should you do? Well, you should get as many assets as possible to help him out at that point. Like, doesn't that make sense? Taking Jamar Chase there at 2, I don't know if that really does it for me. Or taking Penei Sewell at 2 and moving him from left tackle to right tackle and having to pay him at the same time that you'd have to pay Mekhi Becton big money doesn't seem like it would make sense. Moving back and drafting a guard, that could make sense. Moving back and drafting a wide receiver in the middle of the first round, that could make sense. Drafting a corner, like there's so many different things you could do. And that, to me, is the way that you would rebuild this team if you are looking to stick with Sam. If you're looking to stick with Sam and you stay at 2 and you just take Penei Sewell or you just take Devonta Smith, while I like those individual players, this is not anti any of those guys, I just don't think that's the smartest way to build around this team. And I think there would be teams calling you and saying, hey, I want to get up into the top 2, take a boatload of draft picks and move back. I think Joe Douglas should do that. And I think Todd McShay is dead wrong on saying that the Jets would stay there and just take the best player available on their board. I don't think they would do that. I think Joe Douglas is smarter than that, and I think he would move back. Let me know what you think that Joe Douglas would do or what you would do in that situation. I'm not saying that's my preferred option. You guys are pretty, well-versed in what I would prefer to do. If we're not getting Deshaun Watson, then I would take Zach Wilson in that spot. But if we're operating under the assumption that they're keeping Sam Darnold, then trading out at 2 seems to make the most sense. So let me know down in the comments below or on social media. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.